Welcome to the Dog Geek podcast. I'm your host, Ashley, the Dog Geek, and I'm really excited to share with you this podcast with my very first guest. Jessica is such a wealth of information and knowledge. She is so passionate about helping dogs, helping owners. She's got a very special place in her heart for helping senior dogs in particular. She's gone through some of her own rehabbing with her dog after an injury, and it really kind of was opened this big door for her on this journey to better her dog's life, and then wanted to share that with the world and better other people's dogs' lives. So stay tuned, listen in, get in touch with Jessica. She's fantastic. I'd highly recommend her. Please enjoy this podcast. Sit back with a cup of coffee or a glass of wine and enjoy. All right. Hi, Jess. How are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. And we met, just a little quick background, we met at Four Paws Adrift, which with my Great Dane, we did water therapy in the treadmill. So is there a way to explain what Four Paws Adrift does, kind of in a quick sum up, I guess, for anybody who goes like, what's that all about?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically a swim and hydrotherapy center. So sometimes those things are connected, sometimes they're not. Dogs can come there for fun. They can come and swim there to lose weight. They can come swim for hydrotherapy purposes. If they have arthritis, they can use the underwater treadmill for that. After an injury or a surgery and they've lost some muscle, they can use the treadmill or the pool to help regain that muscle. So it's a little bit of fun and a little bit of exercise kind of put together.
Cool. All right. Yeah, and I used it with my Great Dane, which was a lot of fun. And then I bring in the my American Bulldog and the French Bulldog for swimming fun. I wanted them to learn how to swim, be more confident in water. So I've been doing that there also, which has been great. It's a really great center. And anybody who I've met who works there has been wonderful. So I highly recommend it. So a little bit, let's get a little background about you. I know you've worked with dogs for a really long time. I know that you dabble in some other things, not just the hydrotherapy. So what either inspired you or what made you want to work with animals, and a little bit about kind of your journey, how you got to wherever you are now?
Whew, okay, well, that's an easy question.
It is, or is that?
It's a long answer, but it's an easy question.
Well, however in depth or not in depth you want to make it is totally fine.
Well, I mean, like a lot of people who work with animals, I've always been, the person in the room or at the party, or even as a little kid when everyone's hanging out with family, I'm the girl in the corner with the dog or the cat or the goat or the horse, whatever it is. So I've always been an animal lover. I wanted to, get into it. Wasn't sure if I wanted to be a vet. And then I kind of just, went to college. It passed me by. And then I actually started getting into rescue, which is kind of where I started, being an adult with a dog. I had a foster that ended up being a foster fail. And it kind of made me very aware of the need for pet services, walking and sitting and stuff like that. So I decided to start my own little side thing while I was working full time in Manhattan. And it kind of just evolved from there. It was never something I could do full time, just financially didn't work for me. But it was always there on the side. I was doing volunteering. I was walking dogs in the shelter. And the longer I had my dog, the more I got into dog sports and I got into training and all those kinds of things. And it just kind of was pushing me in that direction. Couldn't really figure out how to make it work full time and leave. I was working in the legal field since college. Wow. And then, like many people actually, COVID is what kind of sent me on the new journey. So
something good came out of it, I guess,
yeah,
right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. So and actually there was a dark side to it, because during COVID, my dog actually tore her CCL, her knee, the ligament in her knee. And so, I had been doing dog sitting, dog walking, daycare at that point for like 10 years or so, almost 10 years. But I never made it full time. And then I did end up losing my job because of COVID, my full-time job. And thankfully I had built, a pretty decent side business with the pet sitting and the dog walking that I had that to kind of fall back on. I kind of knew it wasn't what I wanted to do big picture, but I just couldn't see it. And then when my dog got hurt and I learned about this whole world of rehab and all these things, it just sent me like in a whole different direction. I was actually coming to Four Paws Adrift as a customer. I was working with Erica, just doing water training stuff. And Four Paws Adrift became the only place she was allowed to have fun during her injury because she wasn't restricted from swimming. So it kind of just became our happy place.
Oh.
And then everything kind of just unfolded from there. I learned so much about rehab. I'm very passionate about canine nutrition in general. That's been going on for a while. And they all kind of just fell together, and Erica was looking for help. And
now, who is Erica? Is the owner of Four
Erica?
Paws?
Yeah, sorry. Erica is the owner of Four Paws Adrift.
Awesome.
So I had been going there for about a year, I think, as a client.
Okay.
And I had shared with her that I had lost my job and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do next. And coincidentally, she was looking for some help.
And is this with Dobby?
What?
Is this with Dobby that you were?
Yes.
You were bringing. So Dobby's your dog. What kind of dog is Dobby?
She is an American Staffordshire boxer mix. She's a rescue. She's 10 years old.
Oh, I've seen pictures of her. She's gorgeous.
She's as feisty as she is pretty.
Don't let that cute exterior fool you.
Yeah.
So now on this topic of, right, so you were going to swim, you're going to rehab, hydrotherapy. I know that you had taken this journey, I guess, this other educational step, which was getting a certification. So I know as far as like in the training world and me personally in the dog grooming world, there is not a certificate that is required by the state to perform the services, unlike a hairdresser or something. So is that similar as well in this canine in canine fitness or in the water therapy? Is you had gotten a certification? It's a lot of letters. CPDFT. So if I'm not mistaken, I'm going to screw it up. I practiced this many times. Wait, certified professional canine fitness trainer.
Yes.
Okay. Now, so am I correct in in therapy as well that you don't need the certification, but having the certification obviously tells everybody that you are absolutely qualified. You've gone through the training and the educational steps beforehand to really understand what it is you're doing.
Well, there is some boundaries. So
Okay.
the reason for getting this certification is because, we can say all we want that we only have healthy dogs at the pool, but the pool and the treadmill help a lot of senior dogs with medical issues, maybe not necessarily injuries, but it's alleviating arthritis and things like that. So we don't call it therapy in that sense, like physical therapy. The water is water therapy. The reason I went for this certification is because there was some blurred lines between what we were allowed to do, what we were not allowed to do. And so with the certification, I am allowed to work with dogs that are cleared for activity. So whether that's after an injury or if you want to if I'm not sure, if we meet a dog comes in and I'm not sure of their situation or what's going on, I'll either recommend that they see our vet or see their own vet, make sure everything's okay and that they're cleared to be doing any kind of fitness program or water therapy. Most vets are very pro water therapy. So that's usually not a problem because it's good for most dogs, no matter what their kind of situation is. But the certification did allow me to, be a little more able to implement a fitness plan, so to speak.
Awesome. Yeah, you're not just winging it.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
you're actually coming up with a plan. This isn't just like bring your dog in and let's see how we, let's just throw them in the water.
Right.
This
Yeah.
is
There's some science to it, and there's a lot of
awesome.
thought and planning involved, and
Awesome.
trial and error. And we're very careful to make sure that if we're not sure about something, or if something looks funky, go to your vet, or talk
Mm-hmm.
to our vet, just to make sure that we're all on the same page, and we're not pushing the dog too hard, or anything like that.
Awesome. So now I did want to touch on, because I think this was really cool and something that is out of my wheelhouse. So I'm going to ask a little more on a personal note. Is the feeding and the diet. So we don't have to touch on this too much, because this could be a whole nother phone call in itself. But I just wanted for you to just briefly explain what you feed and then why you think it's beneficial. It's an avenue that I've always thought about, and didn't have enough knowledge to do it.
Yeah. A lot of people feel that way.
Yeah.
I was one of them for sure. So I do feed my dog a fully raw diet. Um, I will say off the bat that I will never go back. It's
Wow.
probably the best decision I ever made. It was also very stressful in the beginning because I was nervous, and every time one little thing would happen, I would, be like, "Oh my God, it's the diet. I broke her. What did I do?" So the transition's a little bit scary. And to this day, my next goal is to get my actual nutrition certification,
Oh,
but
yes.
I cannot talk about it enough. So I'm going to try to keep it short, because I think it's just as important as, water therapy and all those things, and keeping your dogs fit. But I would say my dog started on her raw diet when she was about 5. She had a lot of um, ear infections, skin things, allergies, things like that. Um, I have not seen a single one of those since we have switched over to a raw diet. No ear infections. I barely go to the vet, here and there, a little issue, but overall, her general health, her energy, her activity, her fit level, I just attribute it all to the diet. Yes, it's exercise too. But I kind of just there were small things in the beginning I noticed, not to be gross, but how much dogs go to the bathroom on
Yeah.
kibble versus what it looks like on raw. It's just the most visual thing that you can kind of see, because you realize that they're actually absorbing everything that they're eating
Right. So,
versus,
if I'm correct, I believe that when you're feeding a raw diet, there's less poop because
yes.
there's less waste needing to
Yes.
be passed.
Yeah, they're able to absorb everything. There's no fillers in there, things that they end up just passing and things like that. And I mean, my dog's 10, and every
Yeah.
time I see a new vet, they're like, "Wait, 10? What?" So, I have to attribute it to that. Obviously we do a lot of activity, and I am a fitness trainer, so it would be bad if my dog wasn't fit, but
Right. Yeah.
the diet is definitely a big part of that, for sure.
And I think the raw feeding, I do think it's really intimidating thought process, especially if it's not something you've done in the past. It's not something you've started with, or you have a guide to help you. So,
Mm-hmm.
having somebody to help guide you nutritionally in how to do that, I think would be great. And I know that the canine nutrition is something I wanted to really delve into. And then when I kind of started peeking into, I guess you could say, all these different things, my brain kind of exploded and
Mm-hmm.
couldn't process any
Yeah.
more information. So it's nice to know. And I know some other people who feed raw. So it's nice to know out there that it is an option, and that it's a wonderful health benefit for your dog. It could be a wonderful fit, and you just have to kind of, I feel like, almost jump in,
Yes.
make the choice,
Yes.
jump in, and go for it, and then it'll become more easy to do as you go.
Yeah, I
Does
would
that sound
say
right?
it took me about a year to fully understand everything and not panic about every little thing I did. Like my poor nutritionist, every day it was like, "Hi, it's me again. I have another question."
Oh, so that's
um,
great. So you had somebody to
yes,
turn to.
yes, and so
Fantastic.
that's probably my best advice. it's kind of mind-blowing to a lot of people to hear that they should change everything they've ever done with their dogs
I know.
nutritionally.
Yeah.
So it seems very intimidating. It's not as intimidating as it sounds. It's a little bit of work. It's a little bit of learning. But you know, the best thing you can do is, like you said, just jump into it, find a nutritionist that you like, make sure that it's balanced, because you know, a non-balanced diet raw is worse than just feeding, you know, the worst possible kibble you can find out there. But you know, as long as you have a nutritionist that hopefully, you know, could be me someday.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be
um
I'd be on that. You've got your first one right here if it works out, because it's
yeah.
something I really, really, and of course I have lots of questions, which I'm not going to get into about it right now, right? But absolutely, I think it would be amazing. And there are so many dogs that we see from a grooming standpoint that do have a lot of these issues, whether it's
Yeah.
inflammation in the joints,
Hmm.
whether it's skin problems, and chronic recurring skin issues,
Yes.
chronic ear infections, horrible teeth. Like, I don't know about, raw food with teeth, but the body's all connected. So my
Yeah,
assumption is that it probably benefits that. Um,
absolutely.
so awesome. Awesome. Oh, now I'm excited. Now I want to talk to you about raw. All right.
I know. That's the
Well,
other one I could talk about for
maybe
days.
maybe another time. Maybe another time. We'll
Once I
chat
get my
back then.
certification for that, we'll talk
Then
again.
we'll do this again. Awesome. So we chatted. We touched a little bit on the water therapy. So, and we talked a little bit about who can benefit from water therapy. So we're talking about either dogs that are rehabbing from an injury, senior dogs in particular. Now, why would it be so beneficial for someone with a senior dog to want to come in? They might say, well, my dog's never had an injury, and they're just getting old. Like, how people kind of
Hmm.
just generalize, well, my dog is just getting old.
Yeah.
So what, and what would you say? Why would they come in? What's the benefit for them and their dog, bringing their dog into therapy as a
Um,
senior pet?
well, I would say that a lot of people, and this is the thing I'm probably most passionate about in the business, and that I kind of want to get out there to more senior dog pet owners.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people put age on their dogs before their dogs have it. So I remember specifically this one time I was out hiking and I had finished and I had my dog in the trunk and I was giving her some water. It was like a hot day. And this lady was like, oh my God, you know, I used to bring my dog here and, you know, he's too old now. He can't do this hike anymore. And it wasn't like a hike up a mountain. It was just like a trail, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, you know, how old is he? And she said he was 8. And
Oh
I was
gosh.
just like floored because Dobby was like 9 at the
You're
time.
right.
And so I think it's important that people realize that, you know, just because they're a certain age, that doesn't mean they're old. Like, I don't consider my dog old because she's not acting old, because we haven't given her that. You know, we haven't put an age
Mm,
or a number on her and been like, okay, you can't do this anymore. If she's to show me that something's physically taxing for her, then yeah, we might limit that a little, but she hasn't yet. And I think a lot of people don't realize that, you know, and they should, because people get arthritis too. The
mm-hmm.
enemy of arthritis is staying still. So, you know, when your dog doesn't want to go for a walk anymore, it's because they're stiff and it hurts. And yes, arthritis does hurt, but after you walk, you feel better. And so a lot of these dogs end up getting overweight, or they get lazier, they get depressed because they can't walk.
Mm-hmm.
And the water therapy, you know, if you do it 1, 2 times a week, weekly, whatever it is, it really starts to make them feel better. They start wanting to walk again. They feel lighter on their joints. Now, the water in general lets them take that weight off their joints. So they're able to do that range of motion and movement without the weight on them, you know, weight bearing kind of activity. So that gets them started. And then at some point, the hope is it becomes a maintenance thing. And then they can start, you know, they might start walking around, or, you know, I have a lot of people say like, oh my God, he went up the stairs today. He hasn't done that in almost a
Oh.
year. Um, and it can significantly extend your dog's life, because if they stay moving, not only is it good for their joints and their weight, it's good for, you know, their heart. It's good for their mental
I was
stimulation.
just gonna say. So I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, because like doggy dementia
Yeah.
is a real thing. And
Yeah.
again, people say like, there's all these things out there. My dog's just they're just totally out of it these days. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, because there's, again, with the depression and the aging, and you're not stimulating your brain, which is
Right.
also a muscle. It's just you're not creating any new connections, and all of that. So going through that experience, even if it's new for a dog, which somebody might say, well, my dog doesn't like water, right?
Mm-hmm.
So would you still encourage that person to come?
Yes.
So even if the owner thinks the dog doesn't like it, or if the dog is a little hesitant about it, I do think that the new experience paired with the positive reinforcement is still good for them. They're still learning. They're still, they can still experience new things. They can still learn, and they can still find joy in
Yeah,
new things, even at an
absolutely.
older age. And I think a lot of people kind of just give up on it. Like,
Yeah.
somebody asked me about their 5-year-old dog and said, well, she can't learn anything new, right? And it was like, uh,
Yeah.
yeah, no,
I'm not
she,
sure where people get those ideas from.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it's to answer your question. I mean, a lot of times if dogs have never swam before, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we do offer swimming lessons so we can teach a dog to swim. With that being said, they are not always, as you know, they're not just a, one and done, they're in the water. So
Mm-hmm.
if it's a dog that really needs to get moving, whether it's for weight loss or because, they're really stiff, they're weak in their behind end, I'll
Mm-hmm.
recommend the treadmill for a few reasons. We can get started right away with, the work that they need to do. And B, it's a little more gradual as far as introducing water. They're in the treadmill, the water starts to fill up around them. It's not as scary. We don't have to put it up too high the first couple of times. And then once we get them moving, they have to focus because they're walking and they have to keep their balance. And most dogs, as much as people will tell me, I don't know, that they're going to be really nervous, this, whatever it is that they say, most dogs take to the treadmill beautifully. And I think they start to realize it feels good, and it's a way for them to exercise without it hurting. I had a dog last week, amazing family, amazing dog. We spent a significant amount of time getting her to put one paw on the step to get into the treadmill. Like, just new
Wow.
experience in general was just terrifying to her. Um, Fast forward, we spent a lot of time with her. She got in, and there's just so much more than water therapy happening in that moment, because she did something that really, really scared her, and she did it anyway. And you can see that they're proud of that. They did something that they were battling with, that they were like, I can't do this, I can't get
Mm-hmm.
in that treadmill, I can't get in that pool, whatever it is. And they did it. And so that's a big deal, and a lot of people miss that until I kind of point out, like, that was really hard.
Yeah, and it built confidence.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, which is amazing. And then did so let's say, so this person we got in the treadmill, were you able to start water, or was
Yeah.
that oh,
Yeah,
fantastic.
we did. We actually, I was hesitant at first. So, we took our time, we let her get out, we let her get back in. And I was like, you know what? We're just gonna do it. We're gonna see how it goes. Because we were at that point where it was kind of like, do we rip the band-aid? Do we call it a day?
Mhm.
And the minute I got her moving, she was great. She, it was a little rough for that first 30 seconds, but I found out later on that night, and she needs to lose some weight. She's a little weak in her hind end. I found out later on that night she was running around like a little puppy. Like, she
Oh.
was really proud of herself, and she felt good too, and it just made me happy. So it's definitely something that's worth putting the effort in to try to introduce them to, because the most anxious of dogs have turned from night to day within a few, at the most I would say, a few appointments, and it's really beneficial to them. They start to enjoy coming. I don't have many dogs, dragging away from the door. Usually they're running to the door. They can't wait to come in and do their exercise.
Oh, and I would hope that any client who, and from what it sounds like, any client who has either been doing it for a while, or has, their dog responds great after the sessions, and they're like, oh, they're going up the stairs for the first time. Oh, they've acted like a puppy. That must make the owner then have a surge of joy of this, like, oh my gosh, my dog is like active again. My dog seems happier. My dog is more energetic. And I guess that's kind of part of it is, yes, it's going to make your dog feel so much better, but people, it actually works and you can see a difference. And
Mm-hmm.
when you're seeing that difference, not only is it making your dog happy, but it makes the people happy because
Mm-hmm.
they feel
And
like they got their young dog back or something.
yeah, and it's kind of a trust me in the beginning thing, and then at some point people start seeing this stuff on their own and they become believers, and they
Mm.
realize, like, I'll point things out like, hey, I've actually started taking videos of their first day in the treadmill and then doing another one, like, 30 days later or 60 days later, whatever it is, and just being like, hey, like, remember when they used to fall all over in there? Like, look at them now, and those are little things that you don't always necessarily think to look at. I mean, of course, that's all I'm ever looking at.
Hmm.
But and I started doing like measurements on dogs when they first come in, because there's those little things there that you don't always notice when you see your own dog every day, until you do, until they go up the stairs or they decide they want to go longer for a walk than they've gone in a long time, or whatever it is that they're doing. People definitely start to see the differences, and then it makes them realize, it's worth the time, it's worth the effort, and it's good for them.
That's awesome. When do you think? Because I know we said and I mean, I'm passionate about senior dogs. I think we're passionate about all dogs. But you just
Yeah.
flat out say I was like, we're passionate about all dogs. But I know you have maybe a special place in your heart, in your work for those senior dogs, to see them and be so helpful to them, and they come out so feeling so much better.
Hmm.
But when can or maybe should people start? Because I think um a a thing that a lot of us owners do as people is we think everything is fine until we see a problem.
Right.
Then we go, oh my gosh, I need to, take my dog into this thing, or, my dog's been limping a little bit, but now they're really limping and maybe I should take them in. So when would you say people should think about or look into bringing their dog in for maybe the water treadmill or experiencing swimming or the pool or things like that?
To be honest, and this comes from also a fitness perspective, not just water stuff.
Hmm.
um, I think it's really important to emphasize prevention versus wait until something's wrong and then try to fix it.
Hmm.
And of course, I am guilty of that too. I didn't really
Yeah.
know about all of this until my own dog got hurt. And now, the things that we did for physical therapy and the exercises and all the things I did during my certification, she was my student, so she got the benefit too. Um, I understand now that keeping those muscles strong, and especially in the back legs, because that's where a lot of dogs start getting weak in their older years,
Mm.
keeping them strong and keeping them fit and keeping them light on their feet, what weight wise, that starts, day one. Honestly,
Mm.
I wish more people would come in to do the underwater treadmill for prevention instead of just after an injury or after surgery or after a problem, because I think it greatly benefits and kind of lowers the chances of injury.
Yeah.
But on the other answer to that is, if you realistically don't feel like your dog is, you should be able to walk your dog most days. Your dog should be getting a walk every day. They should be getting exercise. And if you can't do that and you feel like your dog's getting a little, overweight, or, you start to notice that maybe they're having some trouble getting up, those are all signs that they're starting to get a little stiff, maybe a little weak, a little painful. And that's when I would definitely say, water therapy can come in handy, because they can get that exercise without all that weight on their joints,
Mm.
and start getting them, losing the weight and feeling better. But, in a perfect world, I would say people should do this kind of stuff for prevention before they need to.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of that, like, do it. And the people who want to come in, they don't have to come in and commit to, let's say if it's just, oh, I have a 3-year-old, I don't know, let's throw something out there. A
Golden. I have a
three-year-old
lot of
golden.
Goldens.
All righty. 3-year-old golden. And, they want to bring him in. He doesn't necessarily have to lose weight. He doesn't necessarily have an injury or anything like that. They don't have to sign up for any kind of lengthy program. Is that
Nope.
correct?
That's
So
correct.
I maybe just like anything else we want to expose our dogs to get them comfortable. Maybe you bring them in once a month. and just have him do the session. It is great exercise. It's great stimulation. It's a new experience. And this way you are getting a little bit, but your dog is also getting that experience under their belt. So they're comfortable. And it's, I mean, I think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it
when
is.
I go.
I think so too.
It's a good time. So I think it would be great for anybody who has a dog to bring their dog in and let them have this new experience and check it out, try it out, do it a couple times a year or whatever. And then, you can kind of gauge again, right? Does my dog need more for something? And you can help guide them on that.
Yeah.
You're a very honest person. You're not in there to just take all people's money and say, yep, you've got to come in 3 times a week. Like, let's go for the rest of your dog's life.
Yeah.
So, I would highly recommend. And then I know that in general, the Four Paws Adrift, they've done a puppy swim class, which I am in. And I think that that's fantastic because it's not only swimming. She's touching on a lot of other things in the class, which are incredibly beneficial. So if you have a younger dog, puppy, or I think is it under a year? Do you know what the age
for the puppy class?
Yeah.
It's under 9 months.
Okay, under 9 months. So that class is so beneficial. And then it gets your dog exposed to that water and the environment, all that good stuff. So is there anything else that you want to touch on, mention, throw out there before we wrap up?
I mean, I guess we talked a lot about the therapy and the senior dogs and all the health benefits and this and that, but I have to say that there is a ton of dogs that just come because they purely love to swim.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then, of course, there's a big chunk of people that come in because they want to teach their dog how to swim, or they have a pool that they want their dog to swim in, or they're going to go to the beach in the summer and they want their dog to swim. And I think those are also great sessions because it helps with puppies' confidence. It helps with any dog's confidence. So whether they get in the water day 1 or day 21, they're still learning something. They're exposing themselves to new things. They're trying things that are hard for them. So, as much as we do a lot of the, hydrotherapy and things like that, we also do it for healthy dogs and, try to promote that activity, especially in the winter. A lot of these dogs don't have anything to do in the winter, especially if they do have pools, but they're closed.
Yeah, like me.
Yeah.
Now, and my dogs don't swim. They're not like eager to go swimming. And for me, I was worried if they'd fall in the pool because our little Frenchie has gotten in the pool and she didn't swim right away. She kind of sunk a little bit and that was horrific. And but then anytime she is in the pool, she panics. So we don't want her panicking if she gets in the water. We want her to know how to swim and to be comfortable around the pool and to know how to maybe get in and out. Maybe they'll find it more enjoyable. And I think that there's probably a large number of dogs that really do enjoy water, like you're saying at the lake or at the beach or in their pool. And in these winter months, you're 100% right. They can't go in any of those. So, and I don't think a lot of people knew. I think I told somebody I was coming from swim class with the dog, and they were like, "What? What are you talking? A swim class for the dog?" I was like, "Yeah, it's an indoor pool. It's all it's like a resort." Like we were having this whole conversation. So I don't think a lot of people even know that these places exist for fun for your dog to do either water sport or things like that. At Four Paws Adrift. Wait, is it 4 paw or 4 paws?
4 paws.
4 paws Adrift, that you can do those things as well, and do some of that sport or fun swim, not so much therapeutic work.
Yes, and that's a big question I get a lot because we are next door to Marty's Senior Sanctuary. A lot of people think that it's only for older dogs, and while that's a big portion of who we see because those are the ones that start to need our help, we definitely are open to the public, all ages and sizes and health health levels and things like that. So it's a fun place for any dog, not just seniors.
I was gonna say in any breed. Someone I'm already hearing the bells, but I've got a
yes,
they can do it.
They can do it.
They can do it. They have life vests.
Yes.
They have life vests there too to help. because my two are using life vests right now to help them. And yeah, I highly think I'm going to cut that. I highly enjoy it, and I really, really hope that people get in touch and check it out. Just go. You have nothing to lose by going.
Yeah,
Nothing to lose.
and I can speak personally for this. I actually met with a new trainer in the area for my dog this week. And, when I went into it, I was like, I'm just gonna go for the evaluation and meet them and just kind of feel it out. I'm not committing to anything, whatever. I was halfway through the session and I was like, oh, I'm in.
Oh.
So coming for that evaluation, it usually alleviates a lot of people's concerns or anxieties or worries, or whatever it is. A lot of people, once they're there, they realize how fun it is, or they realize the little things that their dogs like about it, or whatever it is. So it's worth at least coming for the evaluation and see if it's something that your dog enjoys.
Awesome. Now, how can people what's the best way for them if they want more information about Four Paws Adrift, more information maybe about you? What's the best way people can contact?
They can go on our website. It's www.fourpawsadrift.com. And in order to get started, you're just going to click on the button for Get Me Swimming. And then you put your info in, and it will send you a link for an evaluation, and it'll also give you my information if you have questions. I can, as you can see, I could talk about this stuff forever. So I'm very happy to talk to anyone and everyone who has questions before they make their appointment. Make sure it's something for them. Make sure, kind of get all their anxieties out of the way before the appointment. And that seems to help a lot of people, because I know I'm like that too. I need to know everything that's going to happen before I do something with my dog.
That's great. And, it's good to feel comfortable with the people you're going to be working with, and know that, they have your dog's best interest at heart and they really want to help. And from experience, you guys have been very, your response time, the way you respond, your connectivity to the clients is fantastic. So
Thank you.
anybody who asks me, I'm like, yep, nope, go to them, see them, bring your dog. It's awesome. And yeah, so please
Thank
check it
you very
out.
much. Yeah, we have an awesome team. So you can go on the website too and read about our team. We have some awesome trainers. We all kind of have our own style. We all kind of have our own little niche. But it's an awesome place, and we're really helping a lot of dogs. And if we're not helping them, we're just making them happy.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so, so much for being the first guest on my podcast. I'm so excited. And I'm sure I'll see you
Yes.
because I'll be in with my
Yes.
babies.
I'll see you at puppy class.
You got it. All right.
Thank
Thanks.
you very much for having me. I'm honored to be the first guest.
Woo. All right. Talk to you later.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.